Halloween is around the corner, but first, another episode of In the Trenches right here on the Sports Fanbase Network. Stay tuned as we get ready to preview the playoffs, but first a few games to mention before getting into tournament time. Good evening, SFBN Nation, and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches. I'm Richie Blywois, and I'm joined by Mike Palmer and the returning Corey Sharp. Where have you been?
I got caught by the injury bug.
Oh, man, he was injured. He was on the DL, but we are happy to have him back. Thank you again to Ari Bluestein for filling in for Corey. I think you owe him a lot of lunches.
I do.
You really do. But we're so glad to have you back.
I own some Flip City shakes.
Some Flip City shakes. That's right. Flip City tonight. Thank you to them for giving us some nice pre-show dinner. So thank you very much to them. Thank you so much for joining us on the next episode of In the Trenches. But before we go, this is our final show in October. We have a lot of great playoff analysis to get to through the month of November and leading into December. But as we've done every week in October, we have highlighted a different breast cancer charity, an organization that has really helped in this fight against breast cancer. All of us on this panel have loved ones, family, friends that have been affected by breast cancer, and we want to take a moment just to spotlight some of the great work that happens throughout the state of Pennsylvania. And this week, we are going to highlight the PA Breast Cancer Research Foundation. In their mission statement, the Breast Cancer Research Foundation is a nonprofit organization, and they are committed to achieving prevention and a cure for breast cancer. They provide critical funding for cancer research worldwide to fuel advances in tumor biology, genetics, prevention, treatment, metastasis, and survivorship. Be sure to visit their website at www.bcrf.org. There you can donate and find out how you can get involved so that you can help to tackle breast cancer once and for all. Thank you so much for all of your support. Guys, we are heading towards the playoff time in Pennsylvania high school football. And as we get closer to Thanksgiving, you know that comes up, and it comes up quicker. So let's get right into the action. Tonight we're going to go through all the different districts here that we can fit into our 1 hour. And then we're going to talk a little bit at the end about the playoffs and the 6A most notably. As the brackets are coming out, some brackets are out right now. They're still being filled in, especially by districts 3 and 7. But next week, we are going to get into the full bracket breakdown and really push towards the playoffs, guys. But Corey, you've had a few weeks off, so I'm going to get right to you. I'm going to let you do most of the work to start off our show. Let's talk about District 1. And Neshaminy pulls out a really close game here, 21-0 versus Pennsbury. It is their win. It's the second straight Suburban 1 League title, and they do it in miraculous fashion.
Miraculous fashion, and you want to talk about stealing a victory. They were down 20-7 with nine minutes to go, and they engineered a couple of drives. Brody McAndrew led his team down the field for a 15-play, 60-yard drive to end it. It was really a heck of a drive, and it ended actually, like as you said, Richie, pretty miraculously on a trick play. Brody McAndrew actually caught the touchdown pass. You don't usually see the quarterback, on the game, with the game on the line, you don't see him catching a pass at any level, but he did. If you want to go look at the play, it's on Philly.com. Rick O'Brien, who covered the game, he posted a video of it. It was a little end around, a throw by Corey Joyce, who threw it to McAndrew in the end zone with 30 seconds left. And so, like we said, Neshaminy pulled it out 21-20. So they won this Suburban 1 League National Conference for the second straight year.
Well, and not to take anything away from Corey Joyce or Brody McAndrew, not to take anything away from either of those guys, but let's look at Pennsbury for a second here. Pennsbury as 3 times in the second half turns over the ball, and you're just not going to be able to win, especially in these kinds of close games with that.
No, that obviously gave Neshaminy all that they needed. If Pennsbury takes care of the ball, they probably win because they gave Neshaminy a couple extra possessions, and that ended up being the difference in the game. Neshaminy now is going to be the 1 seed in the District 1 6A playoffs. They're going to play Springford, who is the 16 seed. So look out for that next week. And as we said, playoffs are upon us. Yeah, and
Pennsbury hasn't won the league crown since 2013. So really, this was a game that, going on a good season, you were hoping for a little bit more from Pennsbury. But congratulations to Neshaminy. As you mentioned, they moved to 9-1 overall, 6-0 in the conference. As you said, they have earned the number 1 seed in that District 1 6A bracket. First round game is going to be a home game versus Springford. That's on November 3rd at 7 p.m. The Falcons over in Pennsbury, they take a tough loss, but still a good season for them. They go to 8-2 overall, 5-1 in the conference. They have the number 8 seed. They will go in a home game versus CB South, also on the 3rd at 7. Mike, I'll come over to you for this one. Let's talk District 2. We've got the Scranton Prep Cavaliers. They've now won the last 2 meetings against North Pocono. The Trojans beating them 34-7 in this one.
Yes, District 2 is almost locked up, but I just want to give a shout out to District 1 and what Neshaminy did with that crazy, how many teams are in that. That District 1 playoff picture looks insane right now, and we'll be able to keep up with that within the weeks coming. However, to District 2, once again, Scranton Prep locks up the number 1 seed in that district and locks up their undefeated season at 10-0, defeating North Pocono 34-7 here. The first drive was just what Scranton Prep has been doing all year. A 19-play, 81 drive, and sucked up 9 minutes of time. And that's just what Scranton Prep has always been a team to do. They like to run the ball a lot and control the clock, which we see on the first drive. This is the end of the regular season games for a lot of teams. And Richie, we've been talking about it all year, how you want to get off to good starts, especially against teams that you see every year. And that's exactly what Scranton Prep did here, ending the season strong and continuing that momentum into the playoffs, clinching the division title.
And I think when we get closer to playoff time, that's what we're looking for here. You're looking to really not use these games as games that you need to get in. You're looking at these games more as tune-up games, figuring out what you need, building up your tape so that you can actually go into the playoffs and have a good library ahead of you.
Well, like we said, there's 2 type of games. There's those tune-up games and the games that can surprise you. This could have been a surprising game. North Pocono almost, they tied it up, but Scranton Prep took advantage of their strong offensive core and went another 9-play, 71-yard drive to halt any North Pocono's chance of coming back.
North Pocono is roughly a 500 team, so they're not exactly going to be a threat to a team like Scranton Prep, who's had a perfect season, but still a good team, as you're looking towards the playoffs. They're a good tune-up team.
Well, it's exactly right, because Scranton Prep now is still undefeated, and they look like they're having a shot to win this District 2 championship, because they are one of the highest ranked teams out of that district, because all the other teams are, like Berwick, they're a 2A school, or 3A school, and Scranton Prep just seems like they have a lot of momentum here, and they could be the favorites to have a District 2 after clinching this division title.
Yeah. All right. Well, North Pocono does move to 6-4 overall, 3-2 in the conference. They've earned themselves the number 4 seed in the District 2 4A bracket. They have a home game versus Pittston. That's Friday the 3rd at 7. Also, November 3rd at 7, Scranton Prep. They take their 10-0 overall perfect record, 5-0 in the conference. They get the number 1 seed in District 2 3A in that bracket. They'll face Wilkes-Barre Myers at Scranton Memorial Stadium. Also, again, November 3rd at 7. Let's talk about District 3, and Mike, I'm going to stay with you on this one. I don't know that we've really talked about these 2 teams. I know one of them we haven't talked about very much, but Steelton High Spire Steamrollers, I know we've mentioned them before. Before this game, they come in 7-1. Boiling Springs, the Bubblers, which I just love that name. That's a perfect name. The Bubblers.
I don't know about for a football name, though.
Yeah, I don't know for a football name, but they are 0-8 coming into this. But the Bubblers only lose this by 9, and it's really not what you want.
Like what we were talking about 2 minutes ago. This looks like an easy win for Steel High. They're playing at an all-time level here with only 1 loss in the season. You figure that you're playing a Boiling Springs team at 0-8, but the score was 42-33, and Steel High sneaks one out because you figure that Boiling Springs led Steel High 14-7 early in the game, and that could have been really disastrous for Steel High's predicament in the District 3 playoff picture, which isn't even posted yet. We're waiting on that for right now for District 3, but Steel High looks like a team that could be a favorite out of District 3 within those districts. And once again, the main player to watch here was their Boiling Springs receiver, Tavon Kelly, had 10 receptions, 199 yards with 4 touchdowns in a losing effort. But that's what you see, two teams going at it, which we've seen all year. A very pass-heavy team in Boiling Springs going against a very run-heavy team in Steel High. But Steel High transformed that run-heavy offense into a very balanced team this weekend where we've seen that when Boiling Springs makes mistakes, Steel High takes advantage of them with 3 interceptions for Steel High.
You know, and what was really interesting, you know, we obviously we go through the games and we look and we prep for the show. And as I'm prepping for the show, I keep my team separate so that I can go over and talk stats for each one. But as I was going through the Boiling Springs stats, I had to say to myself, wait a minute. These were some high stats, and yet they still lost this game here. And you know, like you said, Tavon Kelly. Cameron Wolf for them, 10 receptions, 83 yards. Caden Carper, 28 attempts, 106 yards. I mean, these are good numbers to put up in a losing effort. Boiling Springs, the Bubblers, with numbers like that, they shouldn't be 0-8, 0-9 now. They shouldn't be in that situation.
Well, the reason being is because they have all their cards on the table here, 0-8. Last game of the regular season, there's nothing to lose for the Boiling Springs team here, the Bubblers. And that's how you play. When your back's against the walls, nothing to lose, you want to have fun. That's what it comes down to when football is in these type of situations at late October. You want to have fun when your team's 0-8. Obviously, the coach and everybody wants to win, but Boiling Springs put up impressive numbers, like you said, and the game was tied 21-21 to start the second half, so that could have went any way for Boiling Springs.
Well, let's give some credit where it's due. Dupre Andrews, he has a great day. Receiving 3 receptions, 18 yards and a touchdown, and rushing. This is where he really dominates here in the rushing. 222 yards, 19 attempts, 3 touchdowns. So 4 touchdowns overall on the day for him. He really could be a threat come playoff time.
Yeah, that was the biggest difference. They're still high. Dupree Andrews just taking the load off and having 222 yards with 3 touchdowns, as you said. But once again, Steel High proves to be one of the toughest matchups in District 3.
You have to think that the coach for Boiling Springs is really looking to this game and saying, don't be upset because of what the scoreboard said. The scoreboard wasn't going to help us very much anyway as we look at the big picture. Take this game, take it into next week, take it into next season. 0-9 overall for Boiling Springs, 0-6 in the conference. They've got a home conference game versus East Pennsboro. That's Friday, November 3rd at 7. Steel High, 8-1 overall, 6-0 in their conference.
I'll tell you what, the Bubblers, they probably, I would think, put some teams on notice. You know, you would think playing a great team like, what were they called again?
Steamrollers.
The Steamrollers. But they didn't steamroll them, you know? So the Bubblers came out and really surprised some teams, and who knows? That's why you play the games.
They didn't steamroll them. That's why I think Corey's coming after my job here. So it's good segues. Steel High, 8-1 overall, 6-0 in the conference. They have an away game versus Fairfield, November 4th. That's at 2 p.m. Let's talk about a battle of the undefeateds here. We're going to do a District 5-6 mix-up here. It's the battle of the undefeateds. It is the Appalachian Bowl. Very exciting here. Berlin Brothers Valley, the Mountaineers, face off against the Legionnaire Valley Rams from District 6. Legionnaire is ranked number 5 in 2A coming into this game, but tough rain conditions at the game make this an interesting one.
Yeah, and you would think rain would level the playing field, especially with 2 undefeated teams. You know, you really think, again.
So you're going to give me a very close score right now.
You would think close and low scoring. You know, you have trouble passing the ball. You know, most of the work would be done on the ground.
How'd that work out?
Which it was. Legionnaire Valley pretty much did whatever they wanted because their quarterback, John Caldwell, went 11 for 15, 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jackson Dougherty, 16 carries, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 256 all-purpose yards. Aaron Sheeter, another 15 carries, 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Legionnaire Valley pretty much did whatever they want to the previously undefeated Berlin Brothers Valley. And as you have, Richie, they Legionnaire Valley outscored the Appalachian Bowl 97-0 the last 2 years.
Yeah, and that's a fascinating stat. You know, Legionnaire Valley outscores opponents 97-0 the last 2 seasons. Last year, Conemaugh Township, they beat them 56-0. So there's just something about this bowl that they wake
get up for. Yeah.
They really do. Let's go to a quote from Legionnaire Jackson Doherty. This is courtesy of TribLive.com. Says, "It feels great to win back-to-back titles. It was great to get a shutout and a good tune-up game going into the playoffs. It was a great effort." Now, I saw this and really thought, okay, fair quote. He's talking about the playoffs, and that's what we're saying. How do you think the coach for the other side is really feeling when he hears you call Berlin Brothers Valley? He hears you call them a tune-up game.
It's bulletin board material, if you ask me. I'm putting that up for if I'm Berlin Brothers Valley, I'm putting that up on my chalkboard, whatever kind of board they had for next week's playoffs, and that, I was saying that's never going to happen again.
Wow, that really was that was rough.
I just don't think Legionnaire Valley cares, because they have been the most dominant team. Because this is a cross matchup between District 5, District 6, and the Berlin Brothers didn't know what was coming at them from District 6. Legionnaire Valley is the best team out of District 6, and they are the former champions. So the respect level of their coach for his own team is there, and then that's all they need. A tune-up game against an undefeated team, that's just how good they are in Legionnaire Valley. And watch out for them come playoff time and when the brackets start coming out, and they will start creeping up towards the main goal in the championship, Legionnaire Valley.
Wow. Well, Legionnaire Valley, they finished the season. It's a perfect season for them. 10-0 overall, 9-0 in the conference. At this point, they've earned the number 1 spot in the 2A bracket for District 6. They'll play number 8, West Shamokin. I feel like I'm in the names. Shamokin.
These team names, man.
These team names are great. That'll be on November 3rd at 7. Berlin Brothers Valley, they take the loss, go to 9-1, 9-0 in their conference. They'll take on Westinghouse, the opening round of the 2A playoffs. That's Saturday the 4th at 7. Coming up on In the Trenches, we're going to go to District 6. We have a big overtime game. But stay tuned to the SFBN. You're watching In the Trenches.
Hi, I'm Marty Bystrom, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. In my experience in Major League Baseball, I know how important it is for high school athletes to gain exposure. My friends at Payroll Service Solutions are huge supporters of high school sports and the Sports Fan Base Network. If you are a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY.
Hey, you.
Who, me?
Yes, you. You like pro sports?
Yeah,
You like college sports?
of course.
You like high school sports?
I guess.
Maybe you just don't know much about them.
Hey, voice in the sky.
Huh?
Where can I go to learn more about Philadelphia area high school athletics?
Just watch Varsity Voice every Wednesday on Facebook Live at 7 p.m.
Welcome back to In the Trenches. Thanks so much for staying with us. We are going to keep moving right on as we're going to get to District 6. We're going to get to an overtime game here. Homer Center, the home team, defeats Portage 20-14, and Homer Center solidifies their number 2 ranking for the 1A playoffs in this. Mike, come to you.
Well, this is what's crazy about this show and every team we cover. This is the first time we ever mentioned Portage was last week, and now back-to-back weeks and mention it again. They come up short against Homer Center. I mean, great game. Both teams are excellent, and they will meet again within the next couple weeks. The setup is probably prime for round 3 of the District 6 playoffs. Homer Center, 9-1, beats 8-2 team now. Portage, 20-14. I mean, the rematch to these teams is what I'm really looking forward to, and it's going to happen because these teams are great. Both average more than 250 yards of rush per game. And Portage, we talked about their running back last week, Zach Wiggins, who is just dominating, giving their totals up to 391 yards per rush per game. So that's just phenomenal stats from each team running the ball and controlling it each game. And once again, Homer Center came prepared for the run, and like you said, locks up the number 2 seed in a close matchup. You can see that Portage didn't really get nothing going, only putting up 14 points, averaging 390 yards of rush. That's a testament to Homer Center's defense.
Well, they throw an interception in overtime. When you throw an interception in overtime, not only is, the actual act of it very difficult, but it just takes you out of the game emotionally. We've seen that constantly in high school sports, and we see it in pro sports too, but in high school, we see it where these kids just cannot take the emotional element out. So these overtime interceptions and fumbles are just...
Well, especially how close you are to when you get the ball in high school, you're right on the 10-yard line, I believe, and the turnaround for that is just easy. Like, all right, we got 4 plays to score or kick a field goal at that point if you turn it over. So Homer Center had the momentum after that interception in the overtime, but the rematch is primed for a couple weeks, and this was a great game. Each team knows what each other do after the scouting reports from last week, and if they can advance forward and win their games that they're supposed to do in the playoff brackets, we could see a huge rematch between Homer Center and Portage.
We really could. Portage ends this season 8-2 overall, 8-1 in the conference. They earn a first-round bye as the brackets come out. That's what it looks like right now, that they'll get that bye. They'll play at home November 11th. So again, they get that week off to rest up. That'll be at 7 o'clock. They will face the winner, again, if this all stands, they will face the winner of the number 11 Blackline Valley versus number 6 Ferndale game. So definitely be on the lookout for that in a couple of weeks. Homer Center, they take the win. They move to 9-1 overall, 8-1 in the conference. So definitely a nice win for them. They also earn a first-round bye. They'll play at home November 10th, more likely, against the winner of the number 7 Purchase Line versus number 10 United game. And as you said, Mike, these two teams could meet again in round 3 if all works out well for them. But you have to hope that all works out well for them in round 2. Got to win round 2 games before you get to 3, so we can't look ahead too much, especially in this state. And the way that these wild games have really gone, we just can't look ahead too much. District 7, Seton LaSalle, different LaSalle. Seton LaSalle, the Rebels, 24. Keystone Oaks, Golden Eagles, 21 in just a very, very fascinatingly close game here.
Well, this is the team that I wanted to cover the balanced attack, because Seton LaSalle had 193 yards rushing and 163 yards passing, which equals up to 356 yards total. That is just a dynamic, balanced team for the Seton LaSalle team, winning 24-21 against Keystone Oaks. I mean, the thing is, Keystone beat Seton LaSalle handily last year, and they were up 11 at half, and it seemed to be like they're going to win again, but Seton LaSalle comes up strong in the second half with their well-balanced attack, and their running back, Lionel Dean's just phenomenal game, taking the load upon himself, and 32 carries, 192 yards with 2 touchdowns is huge for Seton LaSalle. But this is the District 7, and we're not sure what's going on in District 7 because we don't have any postings yet.
Nothing yet.
But Seton LaSalle also looks like a good team because we covered them before a few weeks ago here on In the Trenches. So once the District 7 turntable comes out, we could see what Seton LaSalle is all about. But huge win against Keystone Oaks, who had their number within the recent years.
I really am excited to see what this bracket picture is going to look like, and to really get that big state preview, and that's something we're going to talk about next week and in the coming weeks right here on In the Trenches. We're definitely going to get into the statewide preview because that's really what fascinates me. As I looked at it today and looked at the potential projections, I felt like I was in March, watching March Madness, and I'm seeing the big brackets and here, 60-plus teams that we're really looking at. But I'm very excited to see what comes of this District 3 and District 7. Speaking of what's coming up, Seton LaSalle, they finished the season 8-1 overall, 7-0 in their conference. Good for them. They finished first in 3A. Keystone Oaks finishes the season 5-4 overall, 4-3 in the conference. but they finished 4th in 3A, and as we said, that bracket is not yet available. So as soon as we get that, we'll make sure to get that, but definitely keep up to date on the SFBN.com so you can check all that out as we go there. Staying with District 7, staying with Mike, let's talk West Allegheny. They are playing for playoff positioning at this point. They really are focused here. Moon area, they're not playing for playoff positioning at this point. They're playing for pride, and we just talked about that. Moon area Tigers 27, West Allegheny 20. Shocking victory here. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Most importantly, West Allegheny Indians did not see it coming.
These are the type of games I love because we covered it a couple weeks ago, and we said that when you're later in the season, when your teams they're looking for a win, and against big teams, they're ruining their playoff run. This is exactly what happened, and it's the first time I've seen it all year, where Moon is a basic subpar team, 500, goes against West Allegheny, who's looking to lock up a number 1 seed, and Moon goes in and ruins West Allegheny's chances of being number 1 seed. I love that kind of football. That is huge. You never back down against an opponent. Moon area gets a huge win, as you said, playing for pride. And that's the most important win, when you're playing just for each other, for your team. And that's exactly what Moon area did. Their quarterback came out, Cole I can't say his name right, but Cole Kanazka. If you can give me a...
Kanizka.
There you go.
Yeah,
goes 16 for 21, 206 yards with a touchdown, and he controls it at the run game, too, with 9 carries and 79 yards rushing. So he took it upon himself as the quarterback to be like, all right, we can lay down, or we can make this a season, a 5-5 season, and be proud of the Moon area team. And that's exactly what they did. Also, the main kid that I want to talk about here, Brady Sunday. 3 touchdowns, 1 running, 1 catching, and a pick 6 to seal the game. That is just huge. And he had a fumble. West Allegheny was coming to come back because they're down a touchdown. West Allegheny fumbles, and guess who's there to scoop it up? Brady Sunday, for 4 big plays to give Moon area a great, prideful win.
Well, it's been 10 years since Moon area has had that win over West Allegheny. A decade to get that win back. But Moon, they led the entire game. They had this one. It was a close game, but they had it the entire time. They lead the whole way through.
Watch out for West Allegheny, though. I'm telling you, those losses late in the year, if you're not out of it, they wake up a team, because no team wants to have that feeling. Yeah, that's embarrassing, to be honest.
And West Allegheny's the champions from District 7 5A last year, so it's definitely a wake-up call, because Moon area was coming out ready to play.
I think they got it just in time.
Yeah. So Moon goes 500 overall and 500 in the conference, 5-5 and 4-4. They finished ranked 5th in 5A. West Allegheny 7-2 overall, 6-2 in the conference, ranked 2nd in 5A. This loss has to hurt, though. This is one that's going to stay, and I think this might even be a loss that helps them come playoff time. I think this is really the kick in the butt that they definitely need. They're only behind Upper St. Clair as the bracket picture emerges, but we are still waiting on official brackets. District 9, Clarion Bobcats handily defeat St. Mary's 44-6 as Clarion earns its 7th no-loss, no-tie regular season in school history with this win.
Yeah, I mean, Clarion basically handled, as you said, Richie, St. Mary's pretty convincingly, 44-6. Logan Minich, he scored 2 touchdowns, rushed for an 66-yard score, and caught an 11-yard touchdown pass. He actually replaced Colton Rapp, who was supposed to be Clarion's bell cow, for the entire season. He got hurt, I believe, late in September, but he came back over the weekend. He rushed for 99 yards, so looks like Clarion's going to have a 1-2 punch between Minich and Colton Rapp, so that'll be good for them going into the playoffs. If you can run the ball and stop the run in the playoffs, you got a pretty good shot. So, and here's a perfect example of that. Clarion outgained St. Mary's 448 to 166. 313 to 137 on the ground. There's probably more rushing yards that they would have liked to have given up. Something they probably should clean up. But St. Mary's, they don't have a win this year. But Clarion, that to our point with West Allegheny, they really didn't do what they had to do. Clarion did, and that's the difference.
But is if St. Mary's, you try really hard to pull out something positive. Tim Beimel runs for 100 yards, 11 carries, and a 14-yard touchdown in there. And as we get to this point in the season, if you're not preparing for the playoffs, you're preparing for next year. And I think that's a player you can try and build around, maybe, or
Absolutely.
at least you can have his backups really be somebody that can fill you in there.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to quit at this time of year, so everyone's still giving it their best, and sometimes, I did say that Clarion probably would have to clean that up, but sometimes you got to tip your hat to the other guy too. They're playing just as hard.
St. Mary's finishes the season. They are winless for the first time since 1994 and without a win or a tie for the first time since 1975. As it looks now, projected playoffs in District 9. Clarion will be the number 2 seed in the Class 2A playoffs. In the opening round, Clarion looks to host number 3 Brookville. That's going to be November 3rd, 7 p.m. St. Mary's, they end the season 0-9 overall. They get outscored through this season 375-92. Please stay with us here on In the Trenches. We're going to be talking about District 11 coming back. We're getting closer to Districts 11 and 12, and we're getting closer to that overall 6A quick playoff preview there. But stay tuned. We've got Parkland, we've got Emmaus coming at you next.
Hey, you.
Who, me?
Yes, you. You like pro sports?
Yeah,
You like college sports?
of course.
You like high school sports?
I guess.
Maybe you just don't know much about them.
Hey, voice in the sky.
Huh?
Where can I go to learn more about Philadelphia area high school athletics?
Just watch Varsity Voice every Wednesday on Facebook Live at 7 p.m.
Hi, I'm Tommy Green, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. When I was in high school, it was very important to me to show scouts what I could do. My friends at Payroll Service Solutions are huge supporters of high school sports and the Sports Fan Base Network. If you're a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY.
Pennsylvania is a big state, and there's great high school football action happening each week to discuss.
Let's deep. Got a man. Touchdown.
Join me, Richie Bleiweiss, and my fellow analysts, Corey Sharp and Mike Palmer, on In the Trenches on the Sports Fan Base Network. In the Trenches, the only show dedicated to all 12 PIAA districts in Pennsylvania, coming to you every Monday live on Facebook. Tune in for information, stats, analysis, and some great previews and predictions. Be sure to submit questions and comments using hashtag #InTheTrenches or comment live during the show. So be sure to watch In the Trenches on the SFBN for all you need to know about high school football in the Keystone State. I'm Richie Bleiweiss, reminding you, stay classy and be good to each other. Welcome back to In the Trenches right here on the Sports Fan Base Network. Thanks so much for staying with us. We are going to go right into District 11. We're going to talk about Parkland, an absolute beast, as they take on and take down Emmaus. 42-7, Trojans defeating the Hornets here. Corey, talk to me about the monster that is Parkland.
Yeah, Parkland has been pretty dominant all year, and like you said, they continue that against Emmaus. And Emmaus they're not like they're a terrible team. I mean, they finished 6-4. Parkland's biggest competition this year was Bethlehem Catholic, who they beat by 2 touchdowns. Emmaus only lost to Bethlehem Catholic by a touchdown. So really, they're just completely dominant. Like I said, it's not like Emmaus is that bad either.
I feel like we've talked about Parkland so much during this season, though. We really have.
The reason being is because they play against such tough competition. At District 11, you got Whitehall and Bethlehem Catholic, as you said. That's the reason why we cover Parkland, is because the competition's no joke week by week.
Yeah, and Michael Rush, their quarterback, 18 for 25, 335 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's like Carson Wentz numbers nowadays. Great receiving day. The top receiver, we don't have his first name, but Mr. Weatherhold. So if you're watching, Mr. Weatherhold, we like your first name. The 6 catches, 127 yards. They spread it around pretty good, obviously, as you know, for 335 yards from rush. So, and Parkland, no surprise, 10-0. They have the first seed in District 11, 6A, and 6A is usually the toughest bracket of them all because of classification and enrollment.
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about shortly here. We'll talk. We're going to highlight 6A a little bit here, but next week is our big preview show, and we're going to break down everything.
Yeah, and I just wanted to preview real quick. Parkland plays Liberty next week in the first round, and they played them this year back on September 8th. They only beat them 24-7. So we'll see. I mean, that was it was early in the year. I think it was Parkland's 3rd game of the year. So, usually early, is you're still kind of getting the feel of things. So now the Parkland's steamrolling ahead. I don't know, that score may change.
Sure. Well, Parkland, again, they're just dominant. I'm so looking forward to see what they do in 6A. Parkland, they have a home game, versus number 8 Liberty. That's November the 3rd at 7 p.m. Parkland, as you mentioned it before, they're ranked number 1 in District 11, 6A, number 3 in 6A overall, and number 5 in the state. Emmaus, they go 6-4 overall, 3-4 in the conference. The Hornets have a home tournament game versus Freedom in Bethlehem, Friday, November 3rd, 7 p.m. They're ranked number 3 in tournament play, number 17 in 6A, and number 33 in the state. Those really are not bad numbers for them. So very, very impressive. We're going to go to District 12. Certainly a district that deserves our attention. Archbishop Wood, the Vikings, not far from us here. They beat the LaSalle Explorers 31-17. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, LaSalle just played Prep last week, and then they come in and play Wood. This is why District 12 has been my favorite district the entire year. Obviously, we get so excited about it. The teams you play week by week, same thing in District 11. That's a great district as well, but District 12, there's nothing quite like it.
The SEC.
Yeah, it literally is. Week by week is just phenomenal games. This game could have went either way.
Well, they had a chance to tie it in the in the third. They had a chance to tie.
Exactly. This game could have went either way. It's a 2-touchdown game, but in these type of games, trust me, I know from playing in this district, a 2-touchdown game, when you look back on it as a player, you're like, couple plays here and there could have changed, and I'm sure LaSalle's feeling that way. But Wood, phenomenal players, always had a great team, great recruiting. Another Peoples goes through there. They already had Desmond and his other brother, and another Peoples comes in, 2 rushing touchdowns on the day, and that
167 yards and a Virginia commit.
Exactly. I mean, that's just what Wood does. They produce these phenomenal players, and LaSalle only 39 yards rushing. I don't think you're going to win too much games. Rushing the ball, only 39 yards. We see people rushing the ball for 400, but District 12, they don't play that. You're not going to have 400 yards rushing in District 12, especially against Archbishop Wood. So LaSalle maybe a little beat up from Prep because that's one of the biggest rivalries in District 12. You pull out all your guns there, and I'm sure they're all worn down and like, oh, look, we got Wood coming up. That's no sleeper either. Wood's a 5A team, by the way, too, and LaSalle's a 6A team. Great matchup, great game. Another great player for Wood. Louthan, the receiver, had 4 receptions, 131 yards. So the big play was there as well. It's just Wood is just a well-balanced, great team looking to win another championship. LaSalle, very, very great team. No one expected this season from them. They take the 2 big losses against Prep and Wood, but they're still in the playoffs looking great in the 6A district, which we'll cover in a few moments. But once again, Wood 31, LaSalle 17. Great game, and the playoffs are starting. District 12, best district around. Great game.
So the Wood Vikings go 7-2 overall, 5-1 in the conference. They're going to play the winner as these brackets come in. How it looks now, they will play the winner of the Archbishop Carroll Archbishop Ryan game. That's going to be held this Saturday, November 4th at 3 p.m. LaSalle, ranked number 12 in the state, 6-3 overall, 4-2 in the conference. They enter the 6A playoffs on a 2-game losing streak. They'll play Roman Catholic in the opening round, no bye for them. That looks like that'll be in the 6A playoffs, November 3rd at 7 p.m. Looking at our message boards, we've got some things we want to talk about, and thank you so much for commenting live on Facebook Live. We love the comments, we love the support, so thank you so much. Let's talk Bartram. We had a fan request in for Bartram versus Dobbins, 76-6. Anybody want to talk about this one here?
Well, Bartram, off to one of their best seasons. First of all, beating Archbishop Ryan, but we covered Bartram not too long ago in their huge win. I wrote an article for them. And they beat Ryan 22-21. Haven't looked back since after that game, which is their toughest matchup so far. And we just see that they blow out Dobbins 72-6. Enjoy a 10-0 season, but it only gets harder from here. They enter the playoffs. They might have an easy win against West Philadelphia, who's 1-7 right now. But after that, they either play against Imhotep Charter or Boys Latine Charter. Boys Latine Charter is 9-1. Imhotep's 7-1, and their loss wasn't even in the state. So Bartram having a great season. Can they continue this momentum against the tough public league team? And we're thinking Imhotep's going to win against Boys Latine Charter. That's what we're saying. But both of them teams are tough. They both have only one loss, and Bartram's looking undefeated. Can they bring that momentum and prove a huge upset against Imhotep or Boys Latine Charter?
I really think Bartram has a lot of momentum as they head into playoff time. You really are talking about positive teams. Imhotep is just a great team, and that's going to be a huge roadblock for them. It really comes down to Bartram.
That's the thing,
though.
They do. Imhotep's been there before, and Bartram, they had great season. I'm not saying anything about Bartram, but they have no playoff experience.
Yeah, but sometimes when we get into the playoffs, we talk about that naivete, that really you have an opportunity because you haven't been there before. That might actually help you. You don't know what to expect, so you go in with how much fear do you really have? How can you just fear?
It's not about fear. It's about playing to a playoff level and getting that experience and not making any mistakes, because a mistake in a playoff game is 100 times more intensified
than your season.
Yeah, it literally is. It's one or done. And teams that are used to making mistakes in the playoffs, which Imhotep is, they can just remain calm. Bartram, we'll see how they do. Playoffs are just coming upon us, and we'll see if they can take that momentum against a team that is used to the playoff intensity.
We live for this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. I do think I agree that having the experience in the playoffs means more. I mean, Tom Brady's going to have more experience than Carson Wentz.
Exactly.
I mean, Carson Wentz, even though he's a great quarterback, he's never been there. And Tom Brady's won 5 Super Bowls. So I think he would know how to deal with adversity a little bit more than Carson Wentz. So in this situation here, Bartram with no experience, I would give the edge to Imhotep for right now.
You can give the edge to Imhotep all you want, but Carson's going to be there come playoff time, and we all feel it. We love you, Carson. We're rooting for you, buddy.
Super Bowl or bust.
Go Birds. Go Birds. All right, so we've got a little bit of an exciting clip we want to play here for you. We've talked about Malvern, we've talked about Haverford, but ESPN highlighting Malvern and Haverford. This is the number 2 clip.
Dun-dun-dun.
Fade to the corner. McGuire got it! Wow! Touchdown, Friars! And a catch reminiscent of Odell Beckham Jr.
That was a really, really great clip. Thank you so much for all the great comments there on Facebook Live. We want to take some time in the weeks ahead where we'll actually get to break down the playoffs. We'll talk next week as it looks now. We're going to go through districts, all the districts from 1A through 6A. We will do that next week and certainly in the weeks ahead as we really push towards this playoff time. But right now, we want to take a look at 6A in particular. When we look at 6A, right now, Corey, I'm going to come to you first. I want to talk about District 12 and a matchup that we're looking at here. Northeast versus MLK. It's going to be on November 3rd at 3. It's at Northeast.
Yeah, Northeast, I mean, they're the number 1 seed in 6A for District 12. So, I mean, they should come out of that. But the thing is, they haven't played a game in 3 weeks. They had a game against Frankfurt that was canceled. The game against, I believe, last week was Edison. This past weekend, it was not played. So they're coming into this game against MLK, who's a 4 seed, You know,
Do you call that well rested, or do you just call that off?
That's
at
a
this
little
point?
too well rested.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. When you get to that point that you've got multiple weeks off, you get to the point that you get rust.
Right, and then I do want to mention too, the last game they played, which was 3 weeks ago, it was against a team from Canada. So, you know, a Canadian team came down and they played and they beat them 33-0, but they haven't played a meaningful game in over a month. And right now is the time you want to be a well-oiled machine. And I know their coach, Phil Gormley, he was actually my 6th grade health teacher, actually.
Small world.
Fun fact. But yeah, he's not happy with, you know, nothing he can do, but he said we haven't played in a month, a meaningful game. And that's tough to kind of flip the switch. You know, if you're not a professional athlete, you know, you can't. It's tough to flip the switch and all of a sudden be thrown into the fire.
Well, I know he's a little discouraged about that because the public league nowadays is just all over the place. They're playing against a 7-3 Martin Luther King team.
Yeah, who's no joke. I mean,
exactly, and that's when you're not playing in 3 weeks. How are you going to pick up that chemistry right away? I mean, Northeast is the team that played Newman Gretty right on call, so they're used to that kind of adversity
That's
right
true.
there. But we'll see who's Martin Luther King coming in at 7-3 could be a little more loose than the Northeast team that's been taking a break.
a little loose and a little bit, you know, kind of like I said, well-oiled. You know, they're coming in. I don't know the word for it, but yeah, I guess it's just well-oiled. Yeah, it's just when you have 3 weeks off, 4 weeks off, you haven't played a meaningful game. That's just tough. And they only played 8 games all year. Usually teams are playing 10.
I feel like when you get to that point, there's too much rust at that point.
Those extra
There's just too
games
much.
that we're covering now, we've seen it. It's either up and down. A team blows a team out, or you see a sneak win, which we covered Moon Area against West Area. We see those type of games. But those extra games that you can get might give you a little more fire for the playoffs. And Martin Luther King, winner of this game, plays once again another public league matchup that we've barely heard of teams this year. Philadelphia Central, 2-7 team, and South Philadelphia High. I mean, their football program was irrelevant back then.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens now. But South Philadelphia 6-3, Philadelphia Central 2-7. So winner of those 2 games, we'll see if it's Northeast can pull one out against Martin Luther King, and then Philadelphia Central, South Philly.
Yeah, it's looking like it's more of a tougher game than I think we thought for Northeast. You know, they're the one, like I said, they're the 1 seed, but yeah, I think that's going to play a big role in the game.
Well, let's take a look at one more team from 6A. Let's talk LaSalle College High School versus Roman Catholic. Also, November the 3rd at 7.
Well, the reason I wanted to cover LaSalle is because they're not out of it yet. They had the 2 toughest games in their recent schedule. I mean, they just lost to Prep a week ago and then played Wood this week. They have a team in Roman Catholic. Roman Catholic's having a struggling year, so LaSalle should be able to easily advance against them and then play against Prep for a rematch, which is one of the biggest games we will cover in the next couple weeks. The rematch between LaSalle and St. Joe's Prep is what we all want to see. Prep has a game against Judge. Judge has a great quarterback. Other than that, they can't really find to make big plays and find big playmakers. So Judge makes the playoffs, but they're not going to win against Prep. And that's what we want to see, the rematch between Prep and LaSalle. And that's all we got here for the 6A, District 12, right now.
You know, guys, I really am excited about next week's episode. I'm always excited to be here. I'm always excited when we get to this point. But, you know, being at this point in the season, playoffs are really fast approaching. We're getting into it at this point. I am just so excited the way that these tournaments are shaping up. And I think as the days go ahead, I'm looking forward to just really being able to take a look. We're going to wrap things up in a moment. We've got a little bit more to discuss, but after these commercials. Thank you so much for being with us on another episode of In the Trenches right here on the Sports Fan Base Network. As we said, we are heading right towards the playoffs, and we are so excited to bring you all of the great bracket action that's going to be happening in the weeks ahead as we lead towards holiday time. So we still have plenty of football to discuss, but that is going to wrap up this edition of In the Trenches. A few announcements before we go, though. Make sure to catch all the great content that is coming to you from the SFBN. That includes In the Goal with Steven Schreiber. Also, our flagship show, Varsity Voice. That's on Wednesdays with Ari Bluestein, who has done a great job filling in for Corey while he wasn't here. But we're so glad to have you back, Corey. Thank you so much, and thank you to Ari for filling in while Corey has been away. As we discussed at the start of our show, please take some time and help and donate to breast cancer awareness. Our charity, our organization that we spotlighted this week was PA Breast Cancer Research Foundation. Please visit them at www.bcrf.org. Thank you so much for all that you can do. Again, be sure to like, share, post this episode and every episode of In the Trenches right here on the Sports Fanbase Network. You can get to us through Facebook, through YouTube, and we will be back every Monday on Facebook Live, providing all of the great content throughout high school football in Pennsylvania and the great tournament action that is ahead. But if you can't catch us on Facebook Live and you can't get to us on YouTube, if you're driving, you just want the audio of this podcast, be sure to search for the Sports Fanbase Network and In the Trenches through the iTunes Store. You can get us on podcasts there. You can download every episode of In the Trenches because you obviously want to listen to all of these great episodes and all this great content, but you can even catch tonight's episode of our show through a podcast, catch some great audio. In the meantime, before you download the next episode of In the Trenches and before you see us next Monday, be sure to go to www.thesfbn, Sports Fan Base Network, thesfbn.com. You can get great high school sports information. You can get game schedules, playoff picture coming up. Thank you so much to our wonderful producer, Julian Bellman. He has been with us all season and taking care of some great graphics for us. He's giving me a big thumbs up there behind the big desk. Thank you so much to Julian. Thank you to Corey Sharp. Thank you to Mike Palmer. Thank you to you out there watching us. And remember, stay classy and be good to each other. We'll see you next time on In the Trenches.
Don't forget
Flip City.